Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's a little bit embarrassing. I started the show off. I was muted. You guys didn't even hear my intro. Let me restart all of this. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt Morris. I am your host. Welcome to today's show. Right now, we are live right now on Rumble TV, Matt Morris TV, that is, on YouTube at Matt Morris TV. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about 12 months away from midterms. We are halfway through November of 2025. And right now, as things currently stand, the number one most important political issue, if you ask Americans nationwide, both left-wing Americans or right-wing Americans as well, that's us, it is the economy. Economic concerns right now are probably the single number one most important issue across the country. Now, earlier today, and I think rightfully so, keep in mind the economy was in a pretty bad spot when the Trump administration stepped back into the White House about 10 months ago. Earlier today, Vice President J.D. Vance actually sat down with Fox News and conducted an interview, most of which they actually spent talking about the economy and the Trump administration's plan to rehabilitate the catastrophic state of the American economy that they received or inherited from the Joe Biden administration. And so today, we are going to break down everything that J.D. Vance had to say. This is President Trump's economic plan to get the economy back on track. And the plan is already underway, as you might have noticed, really to try to help us win midterms. Now, I have a feeling that you folks are actually going to like what the game plan here is. President Trump and J.D. Vance, they have a pretty interesting plan to get the economy back on track. And like I said, I think you folks are going to like this. So make sure to subscribe, make sure to like today's show. And without further delay, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go ahead and get right into this. Now, there's an article that I wanted to read through with you folks before we start getting to some of these clips. And the article is on Breitbart. It's titled, J.D. Vance, Young Americans Can't Afford Homes Because Joe Biden Flooded the Country with millions of millions of illegal aliens. Now, if the economy is in shambles and if young Americans can't afford to buy homes because the country was flooded with millions of illegal aliens, what does it kind of make sense to do if you want to fix the economy and help young Americans buy homes? Well, it makes sense to carry out mass deportations. A little bit of a spoiler here. That is exactly what they plan on doing. That is exactly what is already happening. Vice President J.D. Vance says that mass immigration under former President Joe Biden significantly skyrocketed the cost of rent and home prices. And that is exactly the truth. We're going to be looking at some economic data, and you're going to see really just how bad things are because solely and exclusively of Joe Biden and the Democrats and these 25 million illegal aliens that they allowed in the country. In an interview with Fox News, Sean Hannity, Vance attributed sky-high home prices to record-setting illegal alien immigration under Joe Biden, noting that flooding the housing market increases prices on Americans, particularly those first-time homebuyers. Absolutely true. If you are a young American trying to get your life in order, get married and raise a family and buy a house, you kind of have to have a house or a stable living environment. It is very hard. In fact, it has not been this hard to be a young American trying to navigate the economic landscape probably since the Great Depression. Things are very difficult for young Americans right now. And one of the massive reasons why is because of illegal immigration, which skyrocketed absolutely through the roof during the Biden days. J.D. Vance said, to me, this is maybe the most important because I care so much about our young people being able to afford a good life. A lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive. And they're right. Vance said, why is that? Because we flooded the country with 30 million illegal aliens who are taking houses which ought by right go to American citizens. And at the same time, we weren't building enough new houses to begin with, even for the population that we already have. True and true. Vance said the Trump administration is looking to make it easier for home builders to build new homes and make home prices more affordable with fierce interior immigration enforcement. What does that mean? Mass deportations. Keep in mind, every time an illegal alien comes in this country, they've got to live somewhere. They're either renting or they are buying. Keep in mind, it's not impossible for illegal aliens to rent homes or buy homes. In fact, in some states in this country, like Oregon, Washington, California, I'm sure there are others, but I'm a little bit more acquainted with the West Coast. That's where I've spent most of my life. There are actually taxpayer-funded, state taxpayer-funded first-time homebuyer programs for illegal aliens. Meaning, quite literally, hey, if you're an illegal alien in Oregon or Washington or California, you can actually get a taxpayer-funded grant to help with your down payment to help you buy your first house, even though you're an illegal alien. It's absolutely insane. These are programs, if anything, should be used for young American citizens, not illegal aliens, but that is how these programs have operated. So not only is it easy for illegal aliens to buy homes and rent homes in this country, but in large part, all of that entire dynamic was actually subsidized by U.S. taxpayers. Vance also said the key to the nation's affordability crisis is boosting wages for Americans. Illegal aliens do what to wages? They suppress wages. The more illegal aliens you have in the country, wages are driven down. Americans make less money. Actual Americans make less money the more illegal aliens are in the country, because Americans have to compete in the labor force, in the market, against illegal aliens. Wages are being driven down. Labor is a resource. J.D. Vance said, that is where the Trump economy, I think objectively, is just doing better than any other economy in the last 50 to 60 years, Vance continued, saying that President Trump wants to, quote, make an economy for people who can afford to buy things that they need. The best way to do so is good jobs and good wages. We got to get these illegal aliens out of here. Also, H-1B visa workers, got to get them out of here also. In September, economists in Denmark published research that found that mass immigration hugely drives up rents and home prices for the local population. I mean, this is just like obvious. Anybody with half a brain knows the more illegal aliens come in the country, wages go down, home prices go up. Yeah, this is just totally intuitive. The researcher said, our results suggest large and positive impacts of immigration on private rental prices and housing prices at the municipal level. More specifically, we find that a 1 percentage point increase in the local immigration influx over a 5-year horizon. Okay, this is just probably too many numbers. We know exactly what's going on here. This new study is added to decades of published research, which comes to the same conclusion, mainly that mass immigration does impact rent and home prices. Obviously. Now, this is where we get to what J.D. Vance had to say in this interview with Fox News that just got released earlier today. The first clip I want to play here is this. Take a look.
I know that there are a lot of people out there, Sean, who are saying things are expensive. And we have to remember they're expensive because we inherited this terrible inflation crisis from the Biden administration. But you've already seen signs that things are getting better. The price of eggs has gone way down.
Yep.
The price of energy has gone way down. The price of gasoline has gone way down. And as we know, when the price of energy goes down, that starts to filter out into the entire economy. But that also takes a little bit of time. There's another component of this, Sean, which to me is maybe the most important because I care so much about our young people being able to afford a good life. A lot of young people are saying housing is way too expensive. Why is that?
Yeah.
Because we flooded the country with 30 million illegal immigrants who were taking houses that ought by right go to American citizens. And at the same time, we weren't building enough new houses to begin with, even for the population that we had. So what we're doing is trying to make it easier to build houses, trying to make it easier to build factories and things like that so that people have good jobs. We're also getting all of those illegal aliens out of our country, and you're already seeing it start to pay some dividends.
Now, has anybody here been following the real estate market across the country? What has happened with house prices in the last 10 months? What has gone on? During the Biden era, for 4 solid years, we saw house prices, in some markets, double, almost triple in price. Housing prices went absolutely through the damn roof for the first time in 4 years. Now, house prices have stabilized nationwide for the first time in 4 years, over 4 years. Not only are they not going up, they're just barely starting to actually go down a little bit. But that astronomical growth has finally subsided, and now housing prices are... So, that is to say, I guess if you're trying to sell your house right now, maybe it's a bad time. I guess you wish you tried to sell your house a year ago. But young Americans, listen, we've got an entire generation of young Americans that are getting out of school, getting out of high school or college, and the prospect of buying a house, it is just impossible. if you're a young American trying to, enter the workforce and buy a house or settle down, get married, you want to have kids, have the American dream that generations of Americans have had. The white picket fence, stay-at-home wife, 3 or 4 kids. It is just literally financially impossible. Now, finally, for the first time in a very long time, we are seeing that trend of increasing levels of impossibility is beginning to kind of come over the edge here. Thank God. J.D. Vance actually issued a written statement in response to this clip. He said, the Biden administration let tens of millions of illegal aliens into this country, dramatically inflating housing costs. They left a series of disasters in their wake, but high prices were foremost among them. Absolutely true. President Trump and I are working overtime to clean up the mess that they left behind. Now, I want to show you something here. This data here, I had to do some math. I had to fact check this when I saw this. Take a look at this. In 1985, I've got a chart here. In 1985, the median household income was $23,620, while the median home price was $83,200. In 2022, median household income was $74,580, while the median home price was $468,000. So, folks, what they say here is that the price in 1985, the price of a house was 3.5 times more than the average yearly income. In 1985. In 2022, that ratio 6.3 times higher. It is just like, probably the best way to put this into perspective here is in 1985, if you're an average American and you have an average job and you work for 1 hour, what can you buy with 1 hour's labor? The amount of money you make in 1 hour, what can you buy for 1 hour's worth of work? Compare that to what you can buy. Same dynamic, average American, average job, you work for 1 hour. What can you buy with 1 hour of work? And it's about half. It's about half. Meaning you can comprehensively say the buying power of 1 hour of average American work is just about half. The value of American labor has been totally undermined and subverted. And this is for multiple reasons. One, it's tens of millions of illegal aliens coming in the country. And all of this is already adjusted for inflation, by the way. It's tens of millions of illegal aliens coming in the country. It's outsourcing manufacturing to countries like China. But the point is, yeah, Americans that are in the workforce right now are screwed, are totally screwed. It has never been worse outside of the Great Depression, pretty much. This is a chart I wanted to show you. This is going to blow your mind. This chart is from John Burns Research. This is the rate at which FHA loans, 5% FHA loans, mortgage loans, were being given out to Americans or people in America over the last 7 or 8 years. So we have 2018, 2019, 2020. Okay, look at this. When Joe Biden gets in office in January of 2021, the rate at which FHA loans, 5% down payment FHA loans are being given out to people in this country, it not tripled, it increased by almost a factor of 5, almost 6. It went up from just over 1%, 1.5%, up to over 6%. And so the question is, why were all of these FHA loans being given out during the Biden administration? Why did the rate at which FHA loans were being given out skyrocket and spike during the Joe Biden administration? It's because the Biden administration, they were giving out FHA loans to illegal aliens. That's why. We know this is the fact. We had 25 or 30 million illegal aliens come in this country, and they were buying houses. And they were buying houses through Joe Biden's FHA loan program. They were getting some money together, 5% down payment in this case, and they were taking out mortgages on houses that really, like J.D. Vance said, rightfully should have been given or sold, reserved for American citizens, but they were not. Like I said, listen, every single illegal alien that comes in this country, they're not living under bridges. They're not all homeless. They're living in houses. They're renting or buying. A lot of them are buying. And we have all the data to back it up now. J.D. Vance has a solution here.
Yeah, so a few things about that, Sean. First, we probably need to build about 5 million new homes. And if you look in the red states, we're actually doing a very good job. One of the biggest challenges that we have in the housing market, aside from too many illegal aliens who are taking the houses of American citizens, is that in the blue states, you're not building enough houses. So you go to California. Why are so many people moving out of California? It's, yes.
I have a guess. There's no water. No. Your friend Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, my friend Gavin Newsom.
Maybe if they put water in fire hydrants and reservoirs, that might help, right?
Yeah, but they're not building houses. You look at those terrible fires that happen in Los Angeles. You have people who are still trying to get the permitting to rebuild their houses. This happened so long ago. So we've got to get our blue states to build enough houses for their citizens, because our red states and the federal government is actually doing a really good job. By the way, one of the biggest cities where you're seeing housing costs come down? Austin, Texas, because they're choosing smart policies and they're building enough housing. Now,
well, speaking about housing prices in blue states, what is a problem that blue states have that, generally speaking, red states don't have? Almost all of these blue states are sanctuary states. And in all of these sanctuary states, they have God knows how many sanctuary cities. The entire state is a sanctuary for illegal aliens. And so this just kind of further reinforces the point we're making here, is that every time an illegal alien comes in this country, they tend to choose to inhabit blue states because they don't have to worry about getting deported. So illegal aliens come in the country, they move into a blue city, blue state, sanctuary state. And what happens? Housing prices are tumbling out of control. They're skyrocketing. And we have the data. Housing prices are worse in blue states. They're not as bad in red states. And the reason why, it all goes back, it's a multi-issue problem, but one of the huge factors here, it's illegal aliens. They're living in these houses. They're renting houses. They're driving up prices. Now, we listen to Federal Reserve Governor Stephen Moran confirms that the department, that the deportations, actually, this is a big one. Deportations are one of the huge things that have been keeping inflation rates low under the Trump administration so far.
A significant amount of the inflation that we experience years is because we threw millions of new people into the country without a sufficient expansion of the housing stock and sufficient expansion of other forms of fixed capital. Right? The truth is that they need to live somewhere. And if they're living somewhere, then that's a place that other people in America are not living. So and that was inflationary. And I think that the change in border policy, cutting down net migration to zero, potentially even negative because the deportations that have been occurring, I think is very disinflationary, because it's the exact opposite of what occurred over the last few years.
Stephen, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, during the Biden administration, inflation, yearly inflation got up to as high as 9%. 9%. 9%. That is catastrophic. Now, what is the rate of inflation right now in this country under the Trump administration? 3. Right around 3%. Now, I've been hearing this thing from the far left over the last month or two. A couple months ago, Trump was able to have inflation down to 2.6, 2.7% on a monthly level. And now it is up to 3. It's kind of like this, bumping around. And so the Democrats have been saying, oh my God, Donald, inflation is skyrocketing under the Trump administration. Inflation is going up. Trump is causing an increase in inflation, when really, the second he got in the White House, inflation dropped from around 9 down to 3, down to 2.5. And now it's back up to 2.93 and 2.9 or 3. And the Democrats are still saying, look, Trump is increasing inflation. Yeah, I guess compared to 2 months ago when it was 2.7, now it's 2.9. But it's just totally ridiculous and totally disingenuous. What the Democrats did to this country, once again, illegal alien immigration here, not only was it driving up housing prices and rental prices and keeping Americans out of housing, it also drastically drove up inflation. Keep in mind, housing is a zero-sum game, and what that means is that there are only so many houses. There aren't an infinite number of houses in this country. Okay, and if you let in 25 million people or 30 million, as JD Vance just said a minute ago, yeah, they're taking up space. Not only are they taking people's jobs, they're taking people's rentals, they're taking people's houses, they're driving up inflation. Catastrophic. The ways in which all of the illegal alien immigration that took place under the Biden administration, the ways in which that damaged the country, we're going to be finding out for years. We haven't even been able to figure it out yet. Hugely destructive. Take a look at this.
President Trump is personally making moves as well. Fox Business's Charlie Gasparino is reporting that during a White House dinner with business titans this week, the president asked them for their take on how to tackle affordability. Fox Business's Jackie DeAngelis is in studio with me, and we'll get to her in a moment. Let's start with senior White House correspondent Peter Doocy. Peter.
Harris officials here have a lever to pull to try to quickly bring down the prices of everyday household items and everyday groceries. And the lever that they are pulling is to start exempting certain groceries from tariffs.
Now is the right time to, to release some of these items that the president said he was going to release. And I mean, when you look at Southeast Asia and South America, that's where we get a lot of this stuff. You know, the coffee, the cocoa, the bananas, those kinds of things. So this is a natural outgrowth of exactly what the president signaled, and that's what he's doing today.
That could help in the short term, and then in the long term, the White House wants to cut a bunch of red tape, especially the kind that holds up houses from being built, with the argument being that the current housing inventory has been flooded for several years with illegal immigrants. New houses plus deportations could free up a lot of existing homes and apartments, according to Vice President Vance.
So slashing federal red tape to increase the rate at which houses are being built, that's one. Two, mass deportations. You guys know, by the way, a little fact check here. In the last 10 months, since Trump first stepped back into the White House now, we have had, I believe, 2.1 million illegal aliens leave the country. That's around 600,000 forced or compelled ICE deportations. That's around 1.6 million self-deportations. This is something that Trump, I don't know, nobody talks about this really. This is huge. I've been keeping tabs on the numbers here. When you guys, there's something to remember. When Trump first got in the White House, he retrofitted Joe Biden's CBP app, Customs and Border Patrol app. And so this is an app you can download. If you're an illegal alien, you can download a smartphone app on your phone. You can register on this app. You can say, okay, listen, yes, I am an illegal alien. I am going to self-deport. And the reason why they would do this, why they would download and register on this self-deportation app, the CBP app, is because if they agree to deport themselves, then they get a free plane ticket and a $1,000 travel stipend. So Trump, this is called the Mr. Nice Guy approach. Trump, it was in February of 2025. He retrofitted this app and he said, okay, listen, illegal aliens, listen, national message here. If you deport yourselves, if you see yourselves out of the country, we're going to do this the easy way. We're going to give you $1,000 and a free plane ticket. And over 1.5 million illegal aliens have done that. They've taken up that offer. Now, that's the Mr. Nice Guy way. The bad cop way, the Mr. Mean Cop way, is ICE kicking in your door and apprehending you or snatching you off of the sidewalk and forcibly deporting you. And so that's also happening. So we've had around 600,000 forced compelled ICE deportations with DHS, and then another 1.6 or so voluntary deportations. In total, that's over 2 million. And the year is not done yet. We still have another month and a half. A lot of people are saying by the end of the year, we're going to have 2.3, 2.4 million deportations or removals in total. That's good. I'll tell you a problem here. This is the reality. We need to be very somber and realistic about this. During the Biden era, we had 25 or 30 million illegal aliens come in this country. I think it is just not possible to get rid of 30 million people in 4 years. I think maybe we can get, if you do the math here, let's say 2.5 million a year, that's 10 million by the time Trump is out of the White House, maybe more than that. Maybe we can do more than 10 million in 4 years. 10 million in 4 years probably is reasonable because we are already on pace to make that happen. And every single illegal alien we deport, our economy gets a little bit better. You know that. We're already seeing that. The economy, housing prices, inflation, rental prices gets a little bit better with every single illegal alien that leaves this country. Because once again, these people are living somewhere. They're taking jobs. Okay? So every single illegal alien that we get rid of, the economy gets slightly better. And we've got a lot of them to get rid of. Now, that being said, keep in mind, I said, okay, we can probably look forward to 10 million deportations or removals in the next 3.5 years. But also keep in mind, We passed a big, beautiful bill which allocates funding for the hiring of another 10,000 ICE officers, another 3,000 or 4,000 DHS officers, 3,000 CBP agents at the border. Now, the reason why hiring 10,000 new ICE officers is such a big deal is because when President Trump first stepped into the White House, we only had 4,500 ICE officers, 4,500 across the entire country. That's not a lot. Trump had 4,500 ICE officers at his disposal on day one of this administration, and we have 50 million illegal aliens in total. It's not going to happen. You got to hire more ICE officers. And so that was the big point of the big, beautiful bill, was we need funding, we need money to hire more ICE officers because it's a numbers game. We need a workforce. We need boots on the ground to get these people out of the country. If you want housing prices to go down and inflation rates to stay low, if you want rental prices to go down, we need to deport these people. We need a budget to hire more ICE officers to deport these people. And so now the hiring process is underway. You guys have probably seen the advertisements, hiring ICE officers, $50,000 sign-on bonus. Now, I'll tell you something here. Trump posted this the other day on Truth Social. The cost to buy a new home is already down. If you compare July of 2024 to July of 2025, Trump has already shaved off, what is this, right about $35,000 on the price of a first-time home purchase. So you want to talk about immediate effect of getting rid of 2 million people out of this country? We've had around 2 million, 2.1 million people. Okay? We are already seeing immediate results here. So like I said, not only for the first time in a very long time, our house prices not only not going up at crazy rates, now they've kind of stalled out. They're even just starting to go down a little bit. And this is true. You can fact check on this. We have a super chat here from Moonraker. It says, since the 1K is very popular, should Trump expand that money to 10K per family? I don't even really know what that's in reference to be honest. I appreciate that super chat. Thank you very much. This is what I want. I want all of our taxpayer money being spent on hiring ICE agents and carrying out deportations. That's what I want. Nothing is more important than mass deportations for like 10 different reasons. By the way, says Ariel, thank you very much for that super chat. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. Thank you for that $10 super chat. Now, we have a message from Charlie Kirk. This clip over the last couple days on X, on Twitter, has been going viral. And I want to play this. Charlie Kirk, he was a smart guy. He absolutely nailed this. Take a look.
The basic things our parents enjoyed are increasingly out of reach for Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah.
You see, the American dream has become a luxury item for the wealthy elites. Democrats have given hundreds of billions of dollars to illegals and foreign nations, while Gen Z has to pinch pennies just so that they can never own a home, never marry, and work until they die, childless. To all the Gen Zers watching this convention on TikTok right now, I have a message just for you. You don't have to stay poor. You don't have to accept being worse off than your parents.
All right, so in moments we'll be hearing.
I'm gonna tell you something here, folks. Just as we're all conservatives here, we're all a little bit conservative, right leaning to say the least over here. If the Republican Party, this is my midterm warning here. We all need to be totally honest about this, and thank God JD Vance is talking about this. JD Vance is honest about this. If the Republican Party does not collectively acknowledge that the economic climate for young Americans is screwed up, if we don't try to solve these problems, and when I say we, I mean it's the Trump administration, if these problems are not solved seriously, immediately, quickly for young Americans, for both millennials and Gen Z, we're going to lose midterms, and we might even end up losing the 2028 election. The number one issue for Americans always, every single election cycle, midterms or otherwise, it is the economy. Now, nothing is more important to Americans than affordability, housing prices, mortgage prices. You go to the grocery store, you're trying to buy food for your family. Do I have money to take care of my pregnant wife? We have a newborn in the house. Nothing is more important than those things. Can I live in this country and have the American dream and feel comfortable in this country, financially speaking? Unless the Republican Party really addresses these problems and confronts these issues head on, yes, it is very difficult for Gen Z and millennials to pursue the American dream, we're going to have a tough time about 12 months from now, 11 months from now. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult. Now, J.D. Vance issued another message here. This is more of a message to the Democrat Party. Take a look at this.
I do give a lot of credit for the moderate Democrats in the Senate who were with us from the very beginning. Because if you remember the original bill to keep the government open before the shutdown even started, there were 52 GOP senators, 3 Democratic senators. They recognized where this was going. They recognized what was in the best interest of the country. But I think, Sean, there are so many far left people who run the Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., they just want to burn it down. They don't care if the troops don't get paid.
That's the problem.
They don't care if you cause billions of dollars of lost productivity. They don't care if you shut down the airline industry, which they were very close to doing. They just want to get Trump. And they don't care if they have to burn the entire country down in order to get Trump. That's what they want to do. And I think that it shows how stupid that approach is politically, because normally you would expect the President of the United States to get blamed for a shutdown. The American people were smart enough to recognize that the Democrats were the ones who were sort of holding this hostage. They were saying that unless you give us everything that we want, unless you give us $1.5 trillion of benefits, health care for illegal aliens, we're going to destroy the country. We're going to keep the government shut down indefinitely. I think the president recognized eventually the American people are going to recognize this is the Democrats doing this. The Democrats, I think, made a huge political mistake by continuing to push for all of these crazy things. And they said, if you don't give all these crazy things, we're going to keep the government shut down. It was politically stupid, but you're right. I don't understand the psychology of a Democrat who says, we'd like to burn the country down in order to get Donald Trump. But unfortunately, it just drives home. That's what their party is.
That is their psychology. Very obviously so. By the way, happy Friday, everyone. Make sure to like and subscribe. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is my concern going into midterms. Okay. I need to go through kind of the recent history here. We had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House for 4 years. The Democrats were running the country for 4 years. The amount of economic damage and really all sorts of damage caused to this country was immeasurable, catastrophic. Still to this day, we are still trying to quantify the damage that the Democrats caused. As a consequence of that damage, inflation and housing prices and illegal aliens and all this stuff, we voted for President Trump in 2024. Trump is in the White House. Trump already, no doubt, inarguably, the Trump administration, they are making huge strides already in fixing the country. Deportations, housing prices are coming down, thank God. Things are genuinely just beginning to become more affordable. My problem is this. As you might have noticed, Americans, if I might levy a little bit of a critique here against my fellow Americans, all of us, we tend to have a very short memory. Americans, there's a reason why the pendulum swings back and forth. Oftentimes, if you have a Republican in the White House, the Democrats win midterms. And oftentimes, if the Democrats are in the White House, the Republicans win midterms. Americans have a short memory. They kind of forgot why they voted for the people they voted a year or two ago. And then they say, wait a minute, not every single problem in the country is fixed immediately in the last 18 months. All right, we're going the other way this time. You do have this pendulum swing flip-flop. And so my concern is, yes, Trump is genuinely fixing issues at a rate that we've never seen before. But if not every single issue is perfectly fixed to the fullest extent by midterms, I am concerned that we are going to see some Americans say, all right, listen, Trump, we gave you 18 months and you didn't fix every single thing yet. So now we're voting for the Democrats. Because generally that kind of is what we see. There is a midterm pendulum swing. And so I think it's important over the next 12 months. Like I said, the number one issue for Americans is the economy. We really need to see the Trump administration focus on the economy. It's great. It's great. Trump he's ended 8 or 9 different wars. He got the ceasefire between Israel and Iran, and he's working out deals with NATO. He's trying to get peace in Ukraine. He's doing all this stuff abroad. And by the way, to be clear, Trump is doing stuff domestically. He is having a positive impact domestically. But I think there's a certain optic component here. When Americans are struggling, when the economy is rough, and it is getting better, but it's not perfect, Americans, they begin to say, wait a minute, why is Trump talking about Israel? Why is Trump talking about Ukraine? Why is Trump talking about getting a peace deal in the Congo when I just want to buy gas. I just want to have a stay-at-home wife. I just want to be able to buy a house. You know what I mean? And so I think the optics of this, the perception of everything is very, very important. So I don't know. I'm just a guy on the internet. I'm just a guy with a webcam and a microphone. But if somebody asked my opinion, I would say, listen, Trump, the Trump administration, for the next 12 months, you probably shouldn't talk about anything abroad at all, period. We don't want to hear about Israel, frankly. I don't want to hear about the Congo. I don't want to hear about peace deals between Pakistan and India, frankly. What I want to hear is every single day, American economy, affordability, American economy. I think that has to be what it is. And on top of talking about it, results must be following that rhetoric also. And once again, they are. But we got to talk about it too. We got to let people know action is being taken, success is being accomplished, and we need to have that rhetoric going into midterms. It is imperative, because if we don't, I think we're probably going to lose midterms. At a minimum, I think we're going to lose the House if we do not control the optics and control the narrative here. So that's my opinion. Now, this is something funny I wanted to share with you, but first, I see a really pertinent super chat from Tracy Renee. Thank you very much for that super chat. She says, and H-1B and foreign college kids. I have 3 sons in college, 2 engineer students. They already have to compete for internships with women. My son is a 4.0 GPA, got no callbacks after job fair, but guess who did? So I actually have some numbers here. I've been hearing, it's a certain demographic of conservative. I have to call this out because this is just bullshit. I'm hearing from some conservatives on Twitter primarily. They're saying, yeah, well, we actually need H-1B Indian workers because Americans, we just don't have the labor. Americans we're not smart enough. We just don't have the STEM graduates. I'm hearing this rhetoric, and I hate to say it, but some of that rhetoric is coming from the right. And I've got to call it out. That's bullshit. That's not true. Okay, by the way, you can fact check me on this. 9% of recent American STEM graduates, 9% of recent STEM graduates, that's science, technology, engineering, math, cannot find a job right now. They cannot find a job in their respective fields. They graduate with a microbiology degree or a computer engineering degree, and they have to get a job at Best Buy or McDonald's because they can't find a job in their respective field. They've got 4.0 GPA like your son, like your 2 engineering students, and they can't find a job in their respective field. 9% of American recent STEM graduates. By the way, 60% of that 9% are young white American men. Fact check me on that. 9% of recent American STEM graduates cannot find a job in their field, and 60% of those young STEM graduates are young white American men that have, by the way, been institutionally and systematically discriminated against every single step of the way through programs in the universities like affirmative action. They said, well, we've got too many white people. We need more brown people. That's affirmative action. About 6 months ago, the Supreme Court overruled that. Unconstitutional. Thank God we got rid of that. And then if they did make it into the university system, and if they did graduate and they did get their STEM degree, then they've got to go out and get a job. And you have all of these DEI racial quotas. They're trying to get a job at Intel or Microsoft or whatever else, the pharmaceutical company they're trying to get, whatever, in the STEM field. And the employer, that is whoever, Stacy in the HR department, she says, well, you're a young white man. Well, we actually are looking for more brown people. Sorry. We're not hiring young white men right now. Sorry. And so, listen, this entire narrative that we just don't have the intellectual capital to work in these STEM positions, this is just bullshit. This is a lie. And every single data point and metric confirms this. This is bullshit. And we all know the nature of the H-1B program. It's a scam. It's a scam that big industries, namely the STEM companies, that they use to undermine American labor, import cheap, low-wage, low-skill foreign labor, 80% of which is from India, so that they can pay them less and save money and make more money. We also should not be taking in 600,000 Chinese students. We've talked about that. It seems right now. Listen, you might have noticed over the last couple of days, President Trump has gotten a lot of pushback on the 600,000 Chinese student idea and the H-1B visa idea, he's gotten a lot of pushback. And I made a video about that yesterday. It seems like President Trump might even walk this back and say, okay, you know what? Because the base spoke out about this, because the base said we don't want this. Okay, you know what? We're not going to do it. Okay, maybe we're not going to do it. I really hope that ends up happening. Trump does listen to the base. Trump listens to the base. He's a populist. Trump cares about his reputation with us. He doesn't want us to hate him, right? He's a populist. And so there's another massive super chat here. He says, JRG Projects, too little, too late since the election. We've had more foreign wars than domestic wars. The deportations need to be 10 times over. The DOJ needs to start arresting these deep state obstructionists. Young people are not buying it anymore. I'm one of them. I think it's very easy to blackpill. The fact of the matter is we are seeing deep state arrests. In fact, I make videos about that probably once a week. Could we see more? Yes. I'll say this. I hate to be rude. So far in the last 11 months, we have had 2.1 million deportations. It's very easy to say we need 10 times more deportations. That would mean, hold up. It's like, did you really expect that we were going to have 21 million deportations in 11 months? It's unreasonable. So ground the expectations. I think we need to navigate this political environment with our head on our shoulders. There have been an endless series of hurdles over the last 10 or 11 months. We have sanctuary cities aiding and abetting illegal aliens. Sanctuary states aiding and abetting illegal aliens. We have a never-ending series of far-left radically progressive judges in the lower federal judiciary, stopping deportations and trying to do everything they possibly can. Now, luckily, day after day, week after week, month after month, we are seeing a never-ending series of small micro victories, but we have to slowly chip away at this. We have to smack down the federal judges. We have to make victories in the Supreme Court. We have to strip funding away from the sanctuary cities. There's legal battles to be had. We have to pass the big, beautiful bill. We have to blow up the narco trafficking boats. We have to hire 10,000 new ICE agents. Well, it takes 9 months to train up, it takes time to train ICE agents. Like I said, these things, they don't happen overnight. So we need to keep our expectations grounded and stay moralized about everything that's going on. Of course, we always need to demand more, but our demands need to be based in reality and rooted in reality. To say we should have had 10 times more deportations by now, that's to say that in the last 10 months we should have had 21 million illegal aliens. It's just not possible. That's unrealistic. In fact, if I can be blunt with you, a realistic take here is that it will probably take 8 or 12 years to deport the 50 million illegal aliens in this country. It's going to take a long time. This is one of the problems that we have over here on the right, conservatives, right-leaning Americans. We tend to get very demoralized when we don't have immediate success. You're telling me that we haven't fixed all of our problems in 6 months? All right, screw this. I'm out of here. I'm flipping over the board. It's over. We need to accelerate. Now I hope the country gets worse. I see that all the time. Listen, I need to pay a compliment to the far left here. I hate to do this, but I'm going to pay a compliment to the far left. The far left, they're not playing a short-term game. The far left, they play they've got a 50-year plan. The communists called this the Long March. They have a 50-year agenda. They don't expect to turn this country into a communist third world hellhole in 6 months. They've got a 60-year plan. They're going to infiltrate the university system, slowly infiltrate the government. They're going to drip feed illegal aliens in the country. They're going to slowly hijack the media and spread propaganda. And it might take a generation or 2 or 3, but they've got a long-term plan. The communists, they literally have a term for this. It's called the Long March or the Slow March. Over here on the right, our problem is that we expect immediate success. Success is not immediate. It takes time. And in fact, even more problematically so, it's harder to clean up messes than it is to make messes. The Democrats, the far left, they are in the business of making messes. They opened up the border for 4 years. We've got to deal with 25 million illegal aliens. It's much easier for illegal aliens to come into the country than it is to get them out of the country. Frankly, we might not have 25 million deportations in 4 years. It's very difficult. You've got to kick indoors. You've got to rip families apart. It is incredibly different. And you've got to do this while the far left media and the far left politicians, sanctuary state governors and sanctuary city mayors are trying to stop you every single step of the way. It's legal battle after legal battle. It is incredibly difficult to undo the damage that the far left causes, but it is a very important imperative to stay moralized and realize this is a winnable battle if we show up every single day and put our nose to the grinder. But we have to keep on showing up. We have to solve the problem and also understand it's not an easy problem to solve. It's going to take a long time, and it's going to take an entire generation of strong, patriotic Americans like us that have resolve and fortitude and stamina to make it happen. It is a long battle. It is a challenging battle, but it is a winnable one nonetheless. And it must be won, because if it is not won, we're going to lose the republic. We're going to lose the republic. It is imperative that you stay moralized, that we demand success and we continue to pursue success, because if we don't, it's over. We have to temper ourselves. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you very much. There was another video here that popped up earlier today I wanted to play for you guys. As I understand it, psychotherapists are now seeing the effects of Trump derangement syndrome pop up in their patients. Like this is an actual clinical diagnosis or something.
Jonathan is in focus with me now. So first of all, identify it for us. You're in a session and you pick up on what?
Well, Harris, it doesn't take long for me to pick up on this. People are obsessed with Trump. They're fixated. They're hyper-fixated on Trump. And they talk about some of the features of this disorder. They can't sleep. They feel traumatized by Mr. Trump. They feel restless. I had one patient who said she couldn't enjoy a vacation because anytime she saw Trump in the news or on her device, she felt triggered. So this is a profound pathology, and I would even go so far as to call it the defining pathology of our time.
These people come to you for the things that you described. Can't sleep, traumatized, perhaps depression. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But at first, you are there to treat an illness, a disorder of some kind. And what you figure out is the trigger.
Well, and Trump is the trigger for many of these people. And to be that fixated on a figure, on a person, it's simply not healthy. And our country has strayed so far away from where we once were. If you look at in the 80s when President Reagan was shot, people were united. He famously said, I hope you're all Republicans, to the surgeons. And the response was, today, Mr. President, we're all Republicans. But our country has lost that. We've strayed so far from that unity.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see? Because you told me off camera 3/4 of your patient load right now has what you're calling this TDS.
Well, 3/4 of my patients will present with a lot of these symptoms, and within probably 5 minutes of seeing me, their hatred for Trump comes up. So if you're that hyper-focused on Trump, that's a real issue. And
this is a serious mental illness. Now, here's something I'm going to tell you. Maybe I'm going to sound stupid. Maybe I'm going to be ignorant here. The entire concept of therapy, I just don't really get it. I just don't really get it. You know, I understand it's important to have somebody to talk to, but I'll tell you something. It's like this notion of, well, I'm depressed and I'm dissatisfied. I really have a lot of life problems. So I think what might fix my life is paying $120 or $150 an hour to go talk to a 37-year-old radically progressive liberal millennial woman. That's gonna make everything better. I need to go spend $150 an hour to talk to an overweight millennial woman who is probably also mentally ill. That's gonna fix all my problems. No, it's not. No, it's not. In fact, now at this point in 2025, we're seeing a lot of research come out that actually suggests if you're one of these people that focuses all day, nonstop, all day, neurotically on all of your problems, you can't stop thinking about your problems. That actually just ends up creating more problems. Now we're seeing research come out that says actually if you're attending therapy sessions once or multiple times a week, that it's actually bad for you, because sitting down and just talking and obsessing and hyperfixating and focusing on all of your life problems it actually doesn't help you at all. The best thing to do is just actually, it's going to sound crazy, kind of ignore them and get on with your life. Ignore them, put it behind you, get on with your life, keep on trucking, and keep on moving on. There's that famous saying, who is this from, Patton? It must have been General Patton that said this, I believe. When you find yourself in hell, you just got to keep on walking. If you're in a tough spot, you just got to keep on moving along. Nothing else is really going to get you out of it other than yourself. You got to get yourself, you just got to keep on going. So that's that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one more big super chat here over on Rumble. This is from Wounds Are Us. It says, love you and how your show, and hold up, wait, love you and how you love your family and this country. Well, hey, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do. I really do. I really do. Today was kind of a slow news Friday. So today maybe is a little bit of, we're talking about the economy today. So I want to thank everybody here for tuning in. I appreciate it. There really wasn't a whole lot going on today. President Trump cleared out his entire schedule. I'll tell you what, it seems like tomorrow we might be talking about Operation Southern Spear, which is some type of attack or increased military action in Venezuela. That might be the topic of tomorrow's show. So come back for that. Make sure to like and subscribe and drop a follow. That might be on the agenda tomorrow. Operation Southern Spear. Something with Venezuela. No, thank you, Wounds Are Us. I appreciate that a lot. No news is good news. Yeah, you know, I think probably for everybody in the country, no news is good news, other than me, who has to put on a news show. I need to figure out, what are we talking about today? Well, I guess we're talking about the J.D. Vance economy, housing prices, deportations. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you very much for tuning in today. God bless everybody. Make sure to like and to subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow, full steam ahead, videos and live broadcasts nonstop. We're trying to get the country back on track. Everybody, thank you very much. Until tomorrow, stay safe, and thank you all for tuning in.